All right, a little problem there. So, yeah, I shut her down here. I want to make sure that she's still good and tight. I got a little bit of bulging back here, but the rest of this should still be good. A little bit of vibration is a bit of a concern because I want to make sure this is good and concentric. Oh, no, she's not tight anymore. Well, that's unfortunate. Maybe this isn't going to work. No, she's loose. You set out to do something, and you never know what you're going to get. So I'm just not that experienced with this. Really should have been set back here more anyway. Why I was trying to work so far out. I really should consider putting a 1/4" rod in there. It seemed to work pretty well for the 3/8. Problem is I would have to open it up a little bit. And I want to watch what my outside diameter ends up being. The 3/8 pipe that I was working with earlier I'm not really concerned about, but this is a little more critical. Okay. A little warm. She's already moving. Yeah, she's moving. Well, shit, that ain't gonna work. Alright, so that slipped. I'm gonna start with a new piece. It's not the piece I was working with, but anyway. See, I had this piece of 3/8 as a sleeve here. And anyway, it started to work its way, started to walk a little bit, and just couldn't really get it tight enough. There's probably ways I could address that. It worked yesterday. For whatever reason, it didn't work today. So I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm actually going to use a 5/16 collet to see if I can hold this piece. If that doesn't work, I can take a piece of 5/16 a little long. I can make a 1/4" swage for it, and then swage it out, stick a little 1/4" pin in there, and then clamp it in with a 3/8 sleeve, but I don't really want to do that. I kind of have doubts that it's going to work at all. So I'm going to try to work this one down a little bit. This is going to be the primary motive nozzle, similar to this, so I'm going to try to get that down close to this drill bit, and then I'll put the drill bit in and finish it off. Let's see how it goes. Yeah, I could tell I was already stressing it. You could see it starting to bulge right there. So it went a little too far, a little too fast. Try again. So here I took another piece of 5/16 tubing, chucked it up in the collet. I used my stationary drill chuck, put a piece of 1/4 inch in there with the shaved corner ends, just like the 5/16 one, and I went ahead and I swaged that piece out. So I'm gonna figure out how to mount this up with a pin in it like this. Okie doke, starting on another day here. What we have here is a piece of 5/16 tubing. I'm going to try to make this into a primary injector like this, so I have to spin it down to about 70 thousandths ID right there. Move it down a little bit. In order to support this, I've had some issues. That 5/16 will not chuck up in this. The chuck will only go down to about 3/8. So what I actually had to do was to make a little 3/8 sleeve. I think I did this in a previous session here, and then the 5/16 slides inside. In addition to that, in order to further clamp it, the 5/16 was previously swaged out with a 1/4 inch piece of round stock, and that 1/4 inch round stock's actually in it right now. So it's got the 3/8 sleeve on the outside, the 1/4 inch round stock on the inside, and then it's clamped in real well. It's a little longer than it probably should be. I want a good bit of length here because this thing is ultimately going to have to fit inside of this piece of 3/8. This 3/8 is probably going to get cut down a little bit, so it doesn't have to be terribly long. And rather than go for this long section right here, I'm probably going to really just try to really quickly just close it in, because it really doesn't have to be like that. Really, this is having this long section right here and this taper is really no different than just having a long piece of capillary tubing, which I'm probably going to have to do because I'm going to have to leave room. This one here is previously done as a hole there, and so that the piece of cap tube is going to end up shooting into this throat here, and I need to leave enough room for the suction gas to be able to make its way around there. So, well, we're just going to have to spin it and see what I come up with. This is not an exact science here. So, it's already been annealed. My biggest concern is putting too much pressure back here, causing this thing to fatten, which almost always occurs. You can see how this is a little fat right there, and eventually it'll weaken and it'll bust. So we're going to try to avoid that as much as possible. Try to do the work quickly. One of these days I'm going to make myself a better tool, or get this one right. I've abused this thing quite a bit. Just gonna go slow. was using the wax a little bit, but I think I still like the soap a little better. Probably time to re-anneal. Say so. I'm annealing towards the back here because I think this gets work hardened back close to the chuck. It's also going to pull a lot of heat out as I'm doing this, so it's going to take a little more torching. I'm also going to retighten. If I did this closer to the chuck, I could go a lot faster, but I need that length. And the thing is, I could slide this back into my sleeve a lot more, so I'd be working closer to the chuck, so my excess would be back here. The problem is I end up with a bulge right there. So I'm trying to avoid that bulge. I don't want that bulge to be back there. I can cut that off. So I don't really know another way to do this. Seems to be even very light pressure, you end up with some sort of a bulge right there. The only time I really have seen that I kind of avoid that is if that 1/4-inch peg is really extending out through. I've had a little bit of success with that, but I've only been doing that very recently, so I may return to doing finding some modification that I can extend that rod out through. And it takes a lot of the abuse rather than the copper getting bulged out. have a bad feeling about this. It's too far from the chuck. Okay, sorry, phone call. Almost there.